Okay, guys, so now we have just finished the visual, the structure of the eyeball itself. Now what I want to do is go through some of the accessory organs for the eye. We're going to talk about the lacrimal apparatus, and you've seen this word lacrimal before, so hopefully that gives you a hint. And then we're going to talk about the extrinsic eye muscles, which I did already talk about a little bit when I went through the peripheral nervous system. Talked about the cranial nerves that control them, so we'll talk about that again. So for the lacrimal apparatus, so here we are looking at the eye. On the lateral part of the eye, so on the lateral corner on the top of it, that's where you're going to find the lacrimal glands, and the lacrimal glands produce tears. Then the tears are drained into the front of the eye, so they'll float across what's called the conjunctiva, which is the membrane that protects the front of the eye. They'll flow across it, and then they're going to be drained into these two little canals, which are called the lacrimal punctum. That then goes into the lacrimal sac, which then takes it down to the nasal cavity using the nasolacrimal duct. Okay, so the lacrimal sac is the fat part at the top, and the nasolacrimal duct is the narrow region at the bottom that's going to go down into your nose. And that's why when you're crying, your nose is all stuffy, because all of the tears are being drained into the nasal cavity. Okay, on to those extrinsic eye muscles. So remember, there are 6 of them, 6 extrinsic eye muscles. And again, extrinsic means on the outside. So what they do is they control eyeball movements. There are 4 rectus muscles, and rectus means linear movements. So similar idea to what we already seen with muscle naming. So linear, so for these ones we have the superior rectus, the inferior rectus, the lateral rectus, and the medial rectus. Now the good news is for these 4 rectus muscles, they're named based on what they do. So these ones are the easy ones to learn. Superior rectus moves it superiorly, so straight up, no rotation, no spinning. The inferior rectus, straight down. The medial rectus towards the middle, so crossing your eyes, you're using the medial rectus. And then the lateral rectus to the side. Okay, so one thing that I think it would be important to mention is that you'll notice that these are, you have antagonistic pairs, right? So when you're looking straight up, the superior rectus is going to be contracting to pull it up, but at the same time, the inferior rectus, which is the one on the bottom, is going to be relaxing. So you have superior rectus contracting and the inferior rectus relaxing at the same time, and they're going to sort of help each other out. Okay, so antagonistic, do opposite movements. So the other thing I wanted to point out is because your eyes, when I'm looking that way, okay, so if I'm looking that way, which muscle is being used depends on which of my eyes is working, right? So if I'm looking that way over there, that would mean that for this eye, okay, so if I'm looking that way, this eye is going to be contracting the lateral rectus muscle, but this eye here is going to be contracting the medial rectus muscle, right? So which muscle you're contracting depends on which eye is moving. Does that make sense? Okay, let's also review which cranial nerves control each piece. So for the 4 rectus muscles, most of them, 3 of them are going to be controlled by the ocular motor nerve. The ocular motor nerve will control the superior rectus muscle, the medial rectus muscle, and the inferior rectus muscle. But the lateral rectus muscle, the one that goes outwards, that one is going to be controlled by a different cranial nerve. That's controlled by the abducens nerve. And remember, it's controlled by the abducens nerve because it abducts the eye. It takes it away from the midline. Okay, so those ones, pretty easy, pretty straightforward. They do what they say. Superior, inferior, lateral, medial. Now, here comes the more tricky ones, because these ones are confusing. So we also have 2 oblique muscles, and oblique means at an angle. What that means for eye movements is those are rotational muscles, okay? So they're going to cause rotational movements. Now, the thing that makes it even more confusing is that the direction that they rotate is sort of opposite from their name. Their name comes from where on the eyeball they are found, but they do an opposite movement. Okay, so let's start with the superior oblique muscle. Okay, for the superior oblique muscle, remember that it has that very long tendon, and the long tendon is going to travel through the trochlea, which is a little pulley. So what would be the name of the nerve? That would be the trochlear nerve, right? Because of the trochlea here. Okay, so it's going to pull through it. So think about it this way. As you have your eyeball, if you're pulling through this, so even though it's on top of it, as it contracts, what it does is it's going to move, it's going to rotate it down and medially, right? So it's going to rotate it this direction because as it's contracting, it's going to pull the tendon in this direction. So the superior oblique muscle, it's going to go down and medially. And then the inferior oblique muscle, that's this one down here, as it contracts, right? As it contracts, it's going to pull up. Okay, it'll pull up and laterally, right? So you have one that goes down and medially, and the other one go up and laterally. Okay, so it's kind of confusing because the superior oblique muscle rotates towards down, and the inferior oblique muscle rotates towards up. Okay, so I kind of just think of, just remember they're kind of opposites, and it has to do with it's a pulling muscle, not pushing. You can't push. Okay, so we forgot this one. So the superior oblique muscle is going to be controlled by the trochlear nerve. What nerve controls the inferior oblique? That would be the ocular motor nerve. Also the ocular motor nerve. So please note that the ocular motor nerve controls 4 out of the 6 extrinsic eye muscles. Okay, so I think that needs a little bit of practice, so let's make sure. Okay, so which one pulls the eye? So pause it, go through it, and we'll go through it together. Which one pulls the eye upward? Straight up would be superior rectus muscle. Which one pulls the eye medially to cross your eye? So straight in would be medial rectus muscle. Which one's innervated by the trochlear nerve, the little pulley? That would be the superior oblique muscle. And which one laterally rotates the eye? So that would be out and up. That would be the inferior oblique muscle. Okay, that's the end of it. See you later.